Most people think discipline will set them free, but what if I told you it actually makes you dangerous? Not dangerous in a loud, obvious way, but in a quiet, controlled, almost invisible way. The kind of person people can't manipulate, can't predict, and definitely can't control. Sounds intense, right? But here's the truth no one likes to admit. If you're not in control of yourself, something or someone else is. And that's exactly where most people lose without even realizing it. You see, psychology shows us something uncomfortable. People don't get controlled because they're weak. They get controlled because they're predictable. They react the same way, feel the same emotions, fall into the same patterns. And once someone understands your patterns, they understand you. That's why discipline, real discipline, isn't about routines or motivation. It's about breaking patterns so deeply that no one can read you anymore. That's where your power begins. Now, here's the paradox. The more you try to express everything, your goals, your emotions, your plans, the easier it becomes for others to influence you. But when you introduce silence, when you move with intention instead of impulse, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not reacting, you're choosing. And that choice, that's where control is born. That's where transformation starts taking shape. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that those who master themselves become untouchable in ways others can't even comprehend, not because they dominate others, but because they refuse to be ruled by their own weakness. And that's the real game here, not controlling the world, but making sure the world can't control you. So the real question isn't, do you want to be disciplined? The real question is, are you ready to become someone most people won't understand anymore? Because this path, it demands isolation, it demands emotional control, and it demands that you let go of who you used to be. But in return, it gives you something most people spend their entire lives chasing without success. And if you stay with me here, you're going to start seeing discipline in a way that's completely different from anything you've heard before. He looks at discipline differently, not like those shiny morning routines people love to post online. To him, discipline isn't about waking up early or eating clean salads every day. It's something deeper, almost uncomfortable. It's a quiet war against weakness, against that voice that whispers not today. In psychology, this is where most people lose. They negotiate with themselves. But he doesn't negotiate. He understands that real control begins when excuses are cut off at the root. It's not pretty, it's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Now, think about it. How many times has someone said, "I'll start tomorrow"? Yeah, he used to say that too, until he realized that tomorrow is just a polite form of escape. Inspired by Niccolò Machiavelli, he began to see discipline as strategy, not motivation. Machiavelli didn't trust emotions, and neither does he anymore. Emotions shift, they lie, they weaken resolve. Discipline, on the other hand, is cold, calculated, and reliable. That's where transformation starts to take shape. He learned that being disciplined means becoming someone hard to read, not reactive, not easily influenced. When people try to provoke him, he doesn't bite. That's silence, that's intentional. It confuses people. It creates distance. And in that distance, he builds control over himself. Most people are predictable because they follow emotions. But when you detach from that, you become different, unpredictable. And that's where real power hides. There was a moment, he remembers it clearly, when everything shifted. He didn't feel like working, didn't feel like pushing forward. But instead of listening, he acted anyway. That's the turning point most people miss. Discipline isn't about feeling ready. It's about moving despite resistance. In psychology, this rewires identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who executes. It's subtle, but it changes everything. And here's the thing nobody tells you. This version of discipline feels lonely at first, because while others seek comfort, he chooses isolation from distractions. Not forever, but enough to build strength. People might not understand it. They might even question it. But that's part of the process. When you stop needing approval, you stop being controlled by it. And suddenly, your decisions become yours again. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because once he stopped explaining himself, something unexpected started happening. People paid more attention, not because he spoke louder, but because he didn't. And that shift, that quiet presence, that's where the next phase begins. He stopped talking about his plans. No more announcements, no more big things coming soon. At first, it felt strange, almost like he was hiding, but then he realized something powerful. Silence isn't weakness, it's control. In psychology, when you stop seeking validation, you break a hidden dependency. Most people talk because they want recognition. He chose silence because he wanted results. And that shift, it changed the game completely. You've probably seen it before. Someone shares a goal, gets praise, and suddenly loses momentum. That's not coincidence. The brain confuses attention with achievement. He learned this the hard way. Every time he spoke too soon, the energy faded, so he flipped the strategy. No more talking, just doing. Like Machiavelli would suggest, he became invisible when it mattered most. And invisibility, surprisingly, became his advantage. There's something almost unsettling about someone who moves in silence. People can't read them, can't predict them. It creates a subtle tension. And that's where power grows. While others are busy explaining themselves, he's executing. No distractions, no outside noise, just focus. That isolation from unnecessary opinions. It protects his progress. Because let's be honest, most advice isn't helpful. It's just projection. He even tested it once. Set a goal. Told no one. Worked quietly. Weeks later, when the results showed up, people were shocked. When did you do this? They asked. He just shrugged. That's the beauty of it. Silence doesn't just protect your path. It amplifies your transformation. It builds an aura of mystery. And whether people admit it or not, they respect that. And here's a practical move. Next time you set a goal, don't post it, don't share it, don't even hint at it. Write it down, keep it to yourself, and act on it daily. Notice how your energy stays intact. No pressure, no external judgment, just pure execution. That's discipline in its raw form. Quiet, focused, relentless. But here's where it gets deeper. Because once you master silence externally, you start noticing something else. The noise inside your own mind. And controlling that. That's a whole different level of power. Before we continue, let me tell you something important. If what you've heard so far hits you deeply, if you're starting to realize how silence, discipline, and psychological control change the way people see you, then you need to read this. I created an ebook called The Silent Influence Code: How to Make People Respect, Desire, and Follow You Without Saying a Word. Inside, you'll discover the hidden psychology behind influence, attraction, status, and silent power used by men who naturally command attention without chasing validation. And if you've ever felt ignored, underestimated, or invisible in social situations, this was made for you. The link will be in the pinned comment. Trust me, after reading it, you'll never look at human behavior the same way again. He began to notice something most people ignore. The real noise wasn't outside, it was inside his own mind. Thoughts, doubts, moods, always shifting. And that's when he understood a brutal truth. Emotions are not commands, they're just signals. In psychology, people confuse feeling with obligation. I don't feel like it becomes a reason to stop, but he flipped that completely. Discipline, for him, became acting despite the feeling, not because of it. That's where true control starts to emerge. At first, it wasn't easy. There were days he felt tired, unmotivated, even frustrated. But instead of negotiating, he created a rule. Feelings are acknowledged, but never obeyed blindly. It's like hearing a suggestion, not an order. That shift alone creates a kind of internal silence. The chaos quiets down because you stop reacting to every emotional wave. And suddenly, you realize you're not your emotions. You're the one observing them. Think about a simple moment. You wake up and your mind says, just 5 more minutes. Most people give in. He doesn't. Not because he's stronger, but because he trained himself differently. He hears it, recognizes it, and moves anyway. That's emotional alchemy, turning resistance into action. I don't want to becomes, I did it anyway. And over time, that builds an identity that's incredibly hard to break. This is where Machiavelli's influence becomes clear again. He understood that those who control themselves can't be easily controlled by others. When your actions are no longer dictated by mood, people lose leverage over you. You become steady, calm, almost unreadable. And that unpredictability, it creates respect, sometimes even discomfort. Because most people are still driven by impulse. There was a point when he realized something almost funny. His worst days became his most valuable ones. Why? Because acting on a bad day builds more discipline than 10 easy days combined. That's where transformation accelerates. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency under emotional pressure. And that's a skill most people never develop. But then, another layer reveals itself. Because once you stop being controlled by your emotions, you start noticing how much of your environment is pulling you back. People, habits, distractions, all competing for your attention. And that raises a difficult question. What or who needs to be left behind for you to grow? He didn't cut people off out of anger. It was something quieter than that, a realization. Growth requires space, and most environments are too noisy for real transformation to happen. In psychology, constant exposure to opinions, distractions, and expectations weakens your sense of self. So he chose isolation, not as punishment, but as strategy. Not forever, just long enough to hear his own thoughts clearly again. And that clarity, it's rare. At first, it felt uncomfortable. Less messages, fewer conversations, more time alone. The mind tries to fill that silence with doubt. Are you doing the right thing? It whispers. But instead of running back to noise, he stayed. Because he understood something most people avoid. Being alone reveals who you really are. No masks, no performance. Just you. And that's where real discipline begins to sharpen. Think about how often people say they want to grow, but stay surrounded by the same habits, the same influences. It doesn't work like that. If you want different results, you need a different environment. Sometimes that means stepping back, even from people you like. Not because they're bad, but because they're not aligned with where you're going. That kind of control over your space, it changes everything. He even noticed resistance from others. Subtle comments, jokes, even concern. You've changed, they'd say. And he had. But what they really meant was, he was no longer predictable, no longer easy to influence. And that can make people uncomfortable. Machiavelli would understand this perfectly. When you stop playing by familiar rules, you disrupt expectations. And disruption creates distance. Here's something practical you can try. Take one day, just one, and reduce all unnecessary noise. No social media, no random conversations, no distractions. Use that time to focus on something that actually moves your life forward. At first, it'll feel strange, maybe even boring, but stay with it. That discomfort, that's where your focus is being rebuilt. That's where isolation starts to work for you. And yet, this is only part of the transformation, because once you become comfortable being alone, something else begins to shift. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for mediocrity drops. And the way you move through the world becomes harder to predict. He didn't announce it, didn't make a scene, but something about him changed. The way he responded, the way he moved, it became harder to read. No more emotional reactions, no more impulsive replies, just calm, measured actions. In psychology, this creates a powerful shift. When people can't predict you, they can't easily influence you. And without realizing it, he stepped into a new level of control. Quiet, but undeniable. People started noticing, not because he said anything, but because he stopped reacting the way they expected. Where there used to be frustration, now there was silence. Where there used to be explanation, now there was action. That kind of consistency creates a strange effect. It earns respect, sometimes even fear, because most people rely on emotional patterns to navigate relationships. Remove that, and you become unpredictable, Machiavelli spoke about this in his own way. Never be so transparent that others can use you. And that's exactly what happened. By mastering discipline and emotional restraint, he became someone difficult to manipulate. Not cold, just intentional. Every action had weight. Every word had purpose. And when he chose not to respond, that spoke louder than anything else. At the same time, his standards began to rise. Things he used to tolerate distractions, wasted time, shallow conversations, no longer fit. It wasn't arrogance, it was clarity. When you've experienced real focus, mediocrity becomes uncomfortable. So he protected his time like something valuable. Because it is. Time is where transformation happens, or where it dies. Here's something practical. Look at your day and ask yourself, what here is actually moving me forward? Be honest. You'll probably find things that drain your energy without giving anything back. Start cutting those out, one by one. Not dramatically, just intentionally. That's how you build discipline in real life. Small decisions, repeated consistently, until your standards reshape your routine. And then, something deeper begins to unfold. Because once your standards rise, and your behavior becomes controlled, there's one final step that most people avoid. The hardest one. It's not about what you do anymore. It's about who you're willing to stop being. He didn't notice it all at once, but the person he used to be started to feel distant. The habits, the reactions, even the way he thought, it no longer fit. And that's when it hit him. Real transformation isn't about adding new behaviors. It's about letting old identities die. In psychology, people cling to who they were because it's familiar. But growth demands release, and that release isn't comfortable. It's brutal. There were moments he almost went back. Old patterns are seductive. They whisper things like, this is easier, or this is who you are. But he had learned something critical. Identity is not fixed. It's shaped by what you repeatedly do. So instead of asking, who am I? He started asking, who am I becoming? And that shift gave him control over his own evolution. Not perfect, but intentional. Machiavelli would have called this a necessary sacrifice. You can't build power while protecting weakness. And the truth is, most people want change, but only if it doesn't hurt. That's the trap. Because to become someone disciplined, focused, and independent, you have to walk away from comfort, approval, and sometimes even parts of yourself you once liked. That's where isolation becomes internal, not just external. He remembers a specific moment. Someone brought up his past, joking about how he used to act. Everyone laughed. He smiled too, but inside, he felt nothing. No need to defend. No urge to explain. That version of him, gone. And in that silence, there was strength. Because when you no longer feel attached to your old identity, no one can use it against you. Here's a practical reflection. Write down 3 habits or behaviors that no longer align with who you want to become. Be honest. Then ask yourself, what would the disciplined version of me do instead? And start there, not perfectly, just consistently. That's how you slowly let the old self fade, not by force, but by replacement. And now, there's only one question left. If you've come this far, if you've seen what discipline, control, isolation, and inner silence can build, then what's really stopping you from stepping fully into that new version of yourself? Now let me ask you something, honestly. How much of your life is actually under your control? Not what you say, not what you post, but what you do, especially when no one is watching. Because that's where discipline reveals itself. That's where psychology becomes real, not theory. Most people wait to feel ready, wait for the perfect moment. But you already know that moment doesn't come. So what's really stopping you? Think about everything you've just seen. The silence, the isolation, the emotional control, the transformation. None of it is complicated, but all of it is uncomfortable. And that's exactly why most people never change. They stay predictable, easy to read, easy to influence. But you're here, which means a part of you is already ready to break that cycle. The only question is, are you going to act on it? What would happen if, starting today, you stopped announcing your plans? if you acted even when you didn't feel like it, if you protected your time like it actually mattered, just imagine that version of you for a second. More focused, more controlled, more free. Because that's the irony. Real freedom comes from discipline, not from doing whatever you feel like doing. And here's where it gets real. No one is coming to build this version of you. No mentor, no video, no book, not even this one. The path is shown, but the work, that's yours. And deep down, you already know what needs to be done. The habits you need to cut, the distractions you need to remove, the standards you need to raise. So why not start now? So tell me, what's one thing you're going to do differently after this? Drop it in the comments. I want to see who's actually serious about this transformation. And if this message hit you in a different way, if it made you think, then make sure you don't lose this momentum. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications. Because if you're serious about becoming someone disciplined, someone unshakable, someone impossible to control, then this is just the beginning.